I gotta say the Centerport Aqueduct has seen better days. It's really going to pot now. I don't know, somebody made a decision not to take so much care of it anymore, so it's really getting overgrown. It's kind of sad to see. And we got a pile of stones here. We're going to take a look at where they came from. Centerport Aqueduct was one of the very smaller aqueducts. It was actually built and opened about 1858. It was on the Enlarged Canal, and if you remember back at Lock 51, if you saw that video, I said that the 1847 canal came up and then they had to start using the old Clinton's Ditch to the west. And one of the reasons was they had some issues going on in Port Byron, and they also didn't have an aqueduct here to get across the stream, so the Clinton's Ditch was out against Hamilton Road, which is a few hundred yards that way, and they were able to keep using that aqueduct over the stream here. So that's why they had that. It's kind of notable at Lock 51 where the two canals came together, the old and the new. We're going to see if we can get down below here. Take a look at the other thing to note about this aqueduct is you don't have the arches, you just have piers. And that was typical of small aqueducts and cheap construction. It was just much easier to build a pier and build a wooden bridge across it with your wooden flume than to build those graceful arches that we see in a lot of the aqueducts like in Don Camillus or Montezuma. The aqueduct over the Owasco Creek in Port Byron was built the same way as this, just the piers, no arches. That one's gone now. So we've worked our way down off the berm side around the embankment, so we're down below, and you can see these curved walls, very typical of this kind of construction because you're trying to force all the water to go through the aqueduct. And you see the pier here. We're missing a pier, which explains the stones that you saw piled up in the canal bed. Last year, this pier collapsed. Let me see if I can hop down here. Pier collapsed. What happens with these aqueducts is nature starts filling in, man stops taking care of them. So this area over here was a stilling pool at one time, and this dam was designed to hold back water in that stilling pool. So when you had times of high flow, freshets in the creek, and they were carrying down a lot of sediment, they would hit that pool of water and they would settle out all the deposits, the stone and the sediment that was being carried downstream. And then what was supposed to happen was, the canal maintainers would come in and clean those out and open up that pool again. And if I step back, you can see that this dam is that wide, but the creek is only that wide, because at one time the creek flowed over all this, and that's all filled in. That's on the outside curve of that stream there, so that all is deposition filled in. Trees started growing, further choked it off, and what happens is the water starts getting concentrated more and more and more on the dam. Now this aqueduct is built without, it has a wooden foundation, but it's built without piers underneath. This was just a flat foundation laid on they cleared out a pit, laid down the wooden floor, and put the stone on top of it. So when the stream got concentrated in that one flow, it started digging out a scour hole right here. And over time, somebody either took a couple of those capstones off or further concentrated. They probably thought they were helping out. They took a couple capstones off there, concentrated the flow right into there, and you can see where the swirling water, that's just a deep pool. It's over 8 feet deep now. And what's happened is it just completely undermined the wooden foundation. So you can see the gaps. That pier is now tilting. This pier is gone. It just completely collapsed in. And if we turn around here, I saw some other cracks showing me that the whole thing is moving. You can see this whole pier right here. You can see a couple of good cracks growing in it. So that means that is leaning over. So it's happening. And also because the wooden foundation here, this you can see the wood underneath the water. That's as far as the foundation is down. So that wooden foundation is just being pulled up by the force of water. The little wooden spikes that hold it together are rotting. Everything's just falling apart. The water's getting down underneath there. This wood foundation is rotting away. And this whole thing is collapsing in. And it's not a heck of a lot they can do about it unless they dig out the whole thing. And dig it out and repair the floor and get that flow more spread out here. If the water was going all the way across this dam and going down through these channels here evenly, it'll help keep that wooden floor a little wet, and they could preserve this a little bit better, but they're not. They've allowed all the flow to go down that way, and you can see the deposition here of all the sediment that's carried downstream, since it wasn't able to get caught in that stilling pool. The stilling pool filled in, and then you have a high water event and you just end up with feet of depositions, and that can occur with one big rainstorm. One big high water event can make that all fill in. So sadly, you know, these things are going to go, and then you got trees growing out of it, plants growing up. You know, it's just slowly falling apart. And I don't know if there's a heck of a lot they can do to it. They also came in here cleverly, the town did, I guess, and took out the capstones here, which are just allowing more of the water to get in between the rocks or behind the rocks and just push it out even more. So they're just making their problems even worse here. So that whole pier over there has been leaning over and isn't looking good. And you just, you know, you haven't done anything with the force of the water. The water is still scouring out the floor there in that scour hole. Remember, scour holes is what brought down the Schoharie Bridge there in the thruway 30 or 40 years ago. And that's all it takes is scour out underneath and away you go. You also have the old canal. The Enlarged Erie Canal comes through here. And there is water flow through there. There's streams that fed it up. There's a stream receiver about 1.5 miles west of here. The water came in. It was called Herring Brook. Came in a stream receiver, and they diverted all the water into the canal. And they did away with, they used the aqueduct as their sort of their overflow valve. If they had too much water, it would just overflow the trough here in the aqueduct. Well, when the canal was closed down, people started using that stream, or the canal as a stream, so the stream's still flowing through there, so now you have even more water flowing through there, scouring out more over there, so it's not good. Not good at all. Let's walk around and get up on top here. Oh, we're taking a look here. We don't know what we got. Copperhead? I don't know. I'm not going to get real close. Doesn't look like he's very threatened by me. So here we are, standing downstream of the aqueduct, and again you can see the deposition in here. And this is just from, used to be a pool right here. This used to be all a big pool where kids used to come down and swim. Because there was a little bit of a dam, a skirt, after the wooden floor there, and the water would drop right off. And it created a little bit of a pool here. And this is all completely filled in. You see the shores eroding away. These piers again, you can see the separation there. You see that you got where the two stones are together in the bottom. And then you've got stresses Next stone up is cracked. Then you got two stones together, you got a stress crack. So tells me right there that that foundation is failing. And this is all going to go at some point. If you take a look at this one over here, you got stress cracks in some of the stones. It's not good, but as a friend of mine said, these structures failed all the time when the canal was in operation and they had to rebuild them. You constantly find comments about how the canal banks gave way or an aqueduct gave way or created a leak, and that was when they were being maintained. And now you've gone since 1918 without any maintenance whatsoever, just letting nature take its course here. And it's remarkable that the structure stayed up this long. But if something's not done pretty soon, it doesn't look very good. This is a town park, and very small town, very small population, and they don't have the money to come in here and rebuild this. Now let's go up top. So we're working our way up, and I realize I'm shooting into the sun here, so this is Canalway Trail. If you were to walk this way 2.2 miles, you'll reach Port Byron and Shazel Park. It's a nice section of trail between here and there. Adequate maintenance. You know, they mow it. It's not a great place for road bikes, for mountain bikes and hybrids. It's fine. Gets a lot of use. And here we are. And again, you got your pier, your missing pier, and your other pier. And you can see with the light here, see the wooden floor down there, these beams. You can also see here, they used a full length beam and then a short beam to spread the weight out. You can see right down here, you can see the pegs that are holding the wood together, the wood platform. So you got a wood, like a hemlock plank top, pegged to the stringers, and the stringers, every other one went all the way across, and to save money, they put like half ones. So you have a full length one and a half one, full length one and a half one underneath the pier works here. But there's no, the point is there's no pier, or there's no piles driven into the ground. We got the plans for this, and all they did was just dug out a pit, put a wooden floor in, and built a stone on top of it. And they did it in such a hurry, the wood was so green it sprung a leak right away, and they had to repair it just a couple months after they opened it. And you can see some of the planking that's come off and just floating downstream. You can see the force of the water that's digging a scour hole there. Again, that's well-intentioned. You know, people probably thought they were doing the right thing, but not understanding how these old structures are built, they did exactly the wrong thing. And of course, no maintenance. And you can't blame small towns for no maintenance, because they got other things to take care of. Point is, if you want to see it, come see it soon. Here's all the stonework. These are all the piers, the cut pieces from the pier. You know, you can put Humpty Dumpty back together again if you know where all the pieces go. And that's the Centerport Aqueduct.